I got one more video to dive into today, y'all. Um, Thank you for watching Light Skin Politics. Uh, these are the notions and sentiments I hate. I remember when this Jonathan Isaac situation happened. Now, granted, me personally, I don't think anybody should have to do anything. You don't have to stand for the anthem. You don't have to kneel for the anthem. You don't have to wear Black Lives Matter apparel. You can if you want. I personally have no problem with that. But there's a difference when you speak out against Black Lives Matter or you want to give the notion and the narrative that it doesn't do anything. When Jonathan Isaac is damn near a rookie still, like he's only been in like 2 or 3 years, he's had no voice in many of these discussions that most of the veteran players, people who are much well known and much bigger impacts in their community, who's done far more than Jonathan Isaac has, is telling people that awareness is also part of pushing a better idea. You know what I mean? Like, only when it seems to be black issues, protesting does nothing. Only when it's black issues. When it's issues, certain like conservatives or white, the white moderates, only when it's those issues does like protesting and wearing apparel that says Black Lives Matter. You know, it's like that's only when it doesn't do anything. It's like, what are you guys trying to do? It doesn't do anything for the black community. It's like, first of all, yes, it does. Like, I mean, awareness in itself is doing something, for one. Second of all, literally, if you look across the NBA, not only have they worn apparel to let people know of the injustices that actually go on, if they weren't aware, they literally have had meetings. Michael Jordan has had meetings. I mean, Michael Jordan, someone who's more popular than any of you grifters and conservatives, like, can bring up as like, you know, your savior, your great black hope, the one that stands against all the other black people's interests. That's the people we want to get behind. You know what I mean? Even they came together and protested, sat out Game 5 of the playoffs. Guess what? They turned every NBA stadium into a voting place. So are you telling me that isn't change? They're doing nothing? Shut up. Stop being disingenuous. You just want to push that narrative because it makes you feel better inside, because you don't like the movement itself in the first place. You know what I mean? That's the disingenuous nature of a lot of these people. They come out, they spew this BS rhetoric as if, oh, it's doing nothing, because they wish it did nothing. They don't want it to do anything. They don't like Black Lives Matter. They don't like any of the rhetoric. So when a black man goes against his own best interest, guess what? They're going to support him. They're going to raise him up above everyone. And because that lets them circumvent and create their own little bubble of their own racist, bias, stereotypes, and their own narratives that support those stereotypes. That's all it's about. It has nothing to do with what's really right or wrong. They didn't know about this guy beforehand. Hell, most people didn't even know, even in the black community or Black Lives Matter, who this guy was. I knew because I'm into basketball. But the average fan didn't know about Jonathan Isaac unless you were a Magic. So, with that being said, when he said what he said, how he felt, he was wrong. But this is the thing. A lot of people think they're being like the most logical because they're trying to be different and stray off. They're like socio-political hipsters. It's like, well, I see all my other black teammates and counterparts doing this, but you know, I don't want to feel like a sheep, really. I want to feel like I have my own brain, so I'm gonna go against that. It's like, dude, you're black, right? Like, you're going against your own better interest. This movement itself isn't in any way like detrimental to the black community. It's raising up voices that were never even acknowledged in the first place. It's a movement for social justice reform, social change, and police brutality to be checked, and all these things to be reconciled. But yet, you're going to go against it? I would have rather, it's like, it takes more to be against it than with it. Now, granted, I don't care what you do personally, but all I'm saying is, if you just don't like to wear the shirts and stuff, cool by me. But don't go on a podium and say you don't see how it really changes anything, because that's a lie. You don't even know. Just shut up. you're uneducated and you're idiotic and you're really you're literally hurting black people. Your skin color, you as a black individual are going against your better interests. You do not care about your black community. You just don't. You know, but it'd be cool if he just went up there and said, well, I just didn't feel like wearing the shirt and I didn't feel like kneeling. But I'm in support. You know, I want social justice. You know what I mean? But to go out there and insinuate that it does nothing is just as bad as all the other racist or moderate white Americans who are much more in tune with order and having a fascist state of police than actual like social justice reform, or not social justice reform, but like, sorry, misspoke, but like, you know, justice system reform and dealing with police brutality and the biases towards the black community. But no. But let's see what this has to do. Let's see what this is. Let's go into this video.
Jonathan Isaac of the Orlando Magic, because he was the only person to stand for the national anthem. He also did not wear a BLM shirt, and that upset many people in the far left-wing sports media, which is pretty much what sports media is today. It's all
mind you, it wasn't that many people that were upset. It was really what he said in response to why he didn't wear it. Now, I know grifters like this want to make it seem like all the sports are far left. I wish that we were far left so we could get rid of like racist apologists like yourself and like grifters like yourself from spewing your hatred and your BS like stereotypes so you can keep subjugating certain groups in this country. But no, majority of them aren't far right. I mean, good or far left. Could you imagine just saying, hey, can you guys just stop targeting black communities and actually help them get, you know, they've been systemically oppressed for quite some time. Can we just stop doing that? Can you just stop shooting black people that are unarmed in the back when you can de-escalate so many situations? Or going no-knock warrants, shooting women and people who are in their own houses? Can you stop doing that? I'm sorry, that's just too far left for you. I'm sorry. I know you're so far right. Like, it's funny, they say far left, but it's like, bro, you're literally a fascist. You literally want state-controlled, police-controlled, like, shutdown, like, just, you shoot, you die or comply kind of like states. They like, but whatever. I mean, I guess you have the true facts, huh? You're just so intelligent to see how far left something is or not. Wow, because it's mostly black people talking about black issues. I'm sorry that it's not hockey. Why don't we see this in hockey, really? Oh, I wonder why. At least the MLB community has more black players than hockey does, so I can understand why they're coming out about it. But I don't see hockey. I don't see NASCAR really coming out that much. Yeah, you had that one, I think his name was Bubba Wallace incident. You know, his little movement. But other than that, guess what? You had a Blue Lives Matter car out there too. Kind of like a spit in the face. Like, come on now. It's like you don't see support from those groups. I wonder why. The majority of them aren't black. So when you watch the NFL or NBA that's predominantly black, guess what? Black people are going to speak out on things that affect them and they've seen affect their communities. But of course, as a white man that is not educated or doesn't understand that, you're gonna push that narrative. But whatever.
about politics and social messaging. It's not actually about sports anymore. So in 2020, it's actually
there's plenty of sports being talked about still, and on top of that, the sports are still actually like continually to be played. I know you don't like the logos, but like, when's the last time anyone complained about a Mountain Dew logo on the court or any other logos that may have been around in many other sports? Come on now, we have Confederate flags like being raised at NASCAR events, etc. Like, why are you acting as if sports have just stopped? The NFL regular season is going to start. All the games, the reason you watch these sports, guess what? They're going to be played. The product you're watching is going to be there. That product exists there. So stop lying and acting as if there's just no sports being played. No, your feelings are hurt and your own individual biases and stereotypes. You hate seeing them called out. So then you get insecure and you start rambling on about how it's too political. Yet when it's, stand for my flag, respect the country, which is clearly political and clearly fascist, by the way. It's just fine. And you'll speak out on that. You'll make it political yourself. But okay. All right. Whatever.
brave, legitimately brave, to stand for the national anthem. It's also controversial, apparently, to the far left-wing sports media. But Jonathan Isaac's jersey has now become the second best-selling jersey behind LeBron James. And it says after his refusal.
I know he was just triggered by that, but LeBron James, one of the biggest activists in the league. And I mean, come on, like how many jerseys have been? Who cares? Like this just proves how people work with their own like irrational feelings. Like they're like, oh yeah, Jonathan Isaac. I wonder what the demographic behind those purchases were. I wonder how many. Of course that's going to happen. Of course. A lot of these people aren't even fans of this guy. Besides his political affiliations. I mean, everyone's telling people, hey, it's too political. Hey, this is too much. But guess what? They'll buy a guy's jersey because he refuses to kneel and he refuses to wear anything and he doesn't kneel. I mean, look at the count. Look at the guy right beside him. Look at this guy right here. He's looking up. I'm like, what are you doing? Because look at all the solidarity. Why not be all as one? And and you know what's crazy? This is a problem with the black community too, though. But we can't blame the black community for this because everyone's an individual. And everyone always feels like they're doing something like against the grain, you know? I mean, like, oh, look at me. I'm so different. I'm a black man and I have my own mind. So I'm not going to do what you guys are doing because I'm different. Because I got the real knowledge, you know. I'm not going to do it because it's like, come on, dude. It's solidarity. You're with all your black brothers and sisters in here. Even your white brothers and sisters. Your Mexican brother. Your other foreign players are doing this because they understand. Now, granted, we're not gonna shame you for not doing it, but like you have to see where it's confusing and it's going to make people question you. Why? What was the motives? And guess what? I don't really like how the lady who like interviewed him at the end, what she asked him, do you care about Black lives? I'm pretty sure the guy does. I'm not really sure. We're not really sure what his like political affiliations are. But what I will say is, with the way he responded, at least from what I see, maybe he didn't say it. Maybe I'm misinformed on this. And please fact check me if I'm wrong. Because I'm willing to be wrong on this. But like from what I seen as a quote I seen months ago, or whenever this took place, a couple months ago, in August, what I seen was he said that he doesn't see how it helps the black community. He doesn't think it does anything, which I've already explained why that's complete BS and like you shouldn't even be talking. Now, when you say that, I'm gonna need to see something. You know what I mean? I'm gonna have to see what you're doing out here. I'm gonna have to see what you as an individual is doing because clearly it is doing something. And for you to just not be in unison with all your teammates and stuff, what does that speak on you as the individual? What's your true intentions? What are you trying to say by doing this? What could you possibly be saying? But like I said, I know they're triggered because LeBron James is the biggest Black Lives Matter activist there is. And they were so mad that he's still outselling Jonathan Isaacs. And I'm pretty sure I would like to like go right now and check what the jerseys, like what jerseys are selling the most right now because this doesn't mean anything. Like, was this justified? Like, oh yeah, he handed it to them SJWs. Far leftists. When did Black Lives Matter become far leftist? When like you seen two people in the group saying like, oh, communism, and then you were like, oh, everyone. Like, trust me, most black people aren't even talking about communism at all. Stop trying to like paint the whole movement as that because you don't have any real argument against the movement besides that, and even that's not even a good argument because majority of the people aren't even talking about that. No one's even brought that up, even in mainstream media circles. Not even a thing. It's all of you guys like grifters and all of you like conspiracy theorists trying to like denounce something that is for the better good of like society. But okay.
To kneel for the anthem. You see that headline after his refusal to kneel. He refused to kneel is how they are wording it, trying to put negativity, trying to put a negative frame around a guy.
As we've already said, that's pretty negative considering that your entire team, everyone's in solidarity and you choose not to, and like the reasoning for that wasn't even a good reasoning. I mean, even then, he didn't really have his hand on his heart anyway, so we're not, like I said, it's too much to like take. And refusal to kneel, what are we supposed to say? He refused to kneel? I mean, he technically did refuse to. I mean, everyone was like, hey, we're going to kneel, all right, and he doesn't kneel. Well, he refused to kneel, or he did not kneel. It doesn't even matter. It's the same word. It's synonyms, bro. Relax. I know you're triggered so easily by words, but come on. As you like to say that, the left. Literally, when he says far left, he's just literally generalizing all the left. Like, it has all liberals and then left. There's a big difference between both of those, but like still, like, he's just generalizing because it suits him. And that's his audience. That's how his audience, like, that's how their minds work. Their little baby minds.
Guy that just decided, I'm going to stand for the national anthem, a guy who's very religious, who does a lot of outreach work with his community. Oh no, he refused to kneel. No, maybe he just has his own mind and he thinks for himself. But look at the questions that he actually faced from the far left-wing media. Look at this opening question from Mark J. Spears. Didn't wear Black Lives Matter. Do you believe Black Lives Matter? That's the question that he got. You asked a black dude who has a record of helping less fortunate people out, a guy who's a minister. You actually asked him if...
Okay, as we've gotten, I'm not really sure how far this quote goes, but I'm willing to just, like I said, this is something that most conservatives won't do. But like I said, this is me being fact checked on this. So Jonathan Isaac does believe Black Lives Matter, but he doesn't think that it goes hand in hand with it, which he's technically correct. It doesn't, just because you say Black Lives Matter doesn't mean you're actually doing anything necessarily, but you are, because simply awareness is doing something. You know, I mean, when you protest on the streets, it does something. I mean, for him to like act as if, but he didn't say it, but he's only saying it doesn't go hand in hand with supporting black lives. Now, this guy doesn't even this guy's only willing to agree with this guy, Jonathan Isaac's opinion, only because he doesn't follow the exact rhetoric. He doesn't follow the exact symbolism as Black Lives Matter does. Even though this guy doesn't, he'll say Black Lives Matter, but he doesn't like the movement itself. He doesn't like anything a part of it. So, in reality, Jonathan Isaac has admitted he believes Black Lives Matter. He is for the movement itself. But he personally does things other than wear a shirt or kneel that, you know, he does other things personally that he believes, and he's okay with like standing and not having to do all that because he does outreach and stuff. That's cool. But again, it makes you just go like, well, it actually, you're still wrong, Jonathan Isaac, because it does matter, but at the same time, you're right. It doesn't go hand in hand, but it kind of does too, though. I mean, in Jonathan Isaac's opinion, as long as you're like, you have to put either money out or you have to put like actual outreach out. And really, again, majority of the people who are talking about Black Lives, which is majority of the NBA, have already like done things to actually get progress. They've actually done things, but apparently it's far left. So the fact that they've actually done anything is probably going to be some conspiracy. He's going to be scared and fear monger how they're trying to take over the United States because all the NBA players with their far left rhetoric, they're going to get all these far leftists to vote in their far left camps and their indoctrination camps known as the arenas of the NBA. Like that stuff. Like, come on. Like, that's what this is going to turn into. But I will correct myself. Jonathan Isaac did not say he doesn't see how it helps. I believe for myself and my life has been supported through the gospel, image of God, and all according to all the things we do. We hate those we shouldn't. Point fingers whose evil is worse than those. Okay, he's okay. Like, but what I will say is, after reading more of this quote in detail, I hate this. This is like the most annoying thing. This is one of the problems in the black community. There's a big disconnect when people use religion as a way to like blinders. It's like blinders. They're like, well, you know, just turn the other cheek kind of thing. That's literally all he's saying. That's literally all Jonathan Isaac was saying. And I hate this. Like, religion should not be any kind of influence on, like, human rights. It should never have an influence. You don't need to have gospel in your life to realize that racism is bad, and you should actually be for, like, movements that are against racism, systematic racism, and social justice reform. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, but this is like one little guy out of majority of the people who support it. All the biggest voices are in support of Black Lives Matter. Thank God. But of course, it's funny. Politics don't matter unless it's for your politics. This guy is so happy that this guy has the second highest selling jersey in the NBA at the time this happened. Right after this happened. So it's not even about it. Like, these guys lie. They're hypocrites. They're disingenuous. They pivot so much and they lie so much. And it's hilarious because it's so easy to debunk them. It's so easy to, because it's clear that all these people, like, all the same people saying they hate politics and their thing, but they'll buy a guy's jersey because his politics differ from someone else's, or his social stance differs somewhat from someone else. And the only reason they're doing it, not because they like the player, not because they're the fan of the Magic, not because they probably even watched the NBA, just because they heard it and they wanted to show solidarity and support so they could spite people. But it's like, it doesn't spite anyone with the actual brain. I'm sorry. Like, I know conservatives, like, and right-leaning or far-right people, like, think that, like, they annoy people, like, just by, like, supporting sentiments that are just weak as hell. But, like, no, like, it just proves to us that you guys are even worse than, like, it just reinforces the fact that you guys are pretty subhuman, damn near, and you're pretty unintelligent, and you guys are disingenuous, and you guys lie, and you're hypocritical. I mean, it's pretty easy to see that. But, like, come on now. We hate this. Using religion as an excuse to turn the other cheek and just not acknowledge certain things is probably the worst thing ever. I will never take anyone's opinion seriously if they start with the whole gospel and God and all this. You are literally a non-factor. No one takes you seriously after, like, that's your basis of how the world works, is through religion. Like, come on now. Like, that's the weakest argument. I mean, this is literally what held black people back for so long in so many other areas, where people try to, like, convince black people that it's okay, just deal with the problems that are there and work through it, and eventually things will get better. It's like, no, it doesn't work that way. People actually have to fight for their rights. People have to fight for betterment of society, because there's an opposition out there that doesn't care about you. They would rather keep you subjugated, or they benefit from your subjugation. So they have no interest in helping you. They have no interest in any progress whatsoever. So let's stop with the whole turn the other cheek religion and as in God, and we should overcome glory and all this stuff, like, and gospel, like, racism with gospel and stuff. Like, come on. Like, no one takes this stuff serious. I'm sick of this. Black community, we have to smudge out. Like, just stop giving into this indoctrination of religion as a way to, like, let these racists sympathize. Like, this is like sympathizing with your enemy. No, not at all. Like, this, we need to stop this. But yes, I'm not going to go too much further into this. We've already kind of broken down the main thing of this video. Basically, all it is far left, Black Lives Matter, black man didn't kneel, and now we're going to buy his jersey to spite whoever we think we're spiting, which I guess they're thinking, like, all of Black Lives Matter. I mean, granted, black people understand how disconnected you are when you're using religion as a way to, like, defend some kind of a state or non-statement, like, you know, you just not kneeling with your teammates for some reason, not putting on Black Lives Matter. You believe Black Lives Matter, but you also are using, like, rhetoric from, like, religion to, like, be, like, kind of, like, sympathize and, like, turn the other cheek, kind of, like, those kind of sentiments. Like, it's just ugly. It's just ridiculous. Or sentiments, I mean. It's ridiculous. And we need to stop this. We need to get religion out of any social movement we have. That has nothing to do with anything we're having. And these people are meaningless in the fight for betterment of equality. These people will sit and not speak out and not actually do anything. I mean, just because he volunteers at his church, apparently he's for Black Lives Matter. Like, what social justice reform is going to come out of that? I mean, it's systematic. It's not even an individual basis thing. It's systematic issues that won't be solved because you volunteer at the homeless shelter or you volunteer in your own community. I mean, those things help. Don't get me wrong. They're not bad. But, like, to suggest because you volunteer at a church and stuff, but you don't support black, like, you don't he believes Black Lives Matter, but he doesn't support the Black Lives Matter movement. And that in itself is all that needs to be said. Thank you for listening to Light Skin Politics. Like, subscribe, and share. Turn notifications on. I'll be back with more. This stuff comes up so often. I mean, this is kind of an old story, but it's just funny how we see these people making money off of just drivel, essentially. But thank you guys for watching.